We're live.
Excellent. Welcome to the Lost Together podcast, a retrospective podcast for the television show Lost, which I'm trying to convince my wife to love in the way that I loved it. So I wanted to keep the introduction brief because we just watched Walkabout, Season 1, Episode 4, which originally aired on October 13th, 2004. And for all Losties who have ever watched the show, Walkabout is a special episode, a memorable one, the introduction to the backstory of one John Locke.
Oh my God.
So, we always start off with a little bit of pitter-patter here. So, just before we get into a recap, general thoughts on Walkabout.
So good. So good. It made me feel like sad for how shitty I was about Creed, aka Mr. John Locke. I was way judgy, and it made me like, take a beat and go like, hey, maybe you're being a bitch about like everybody, because I was kind of shitting on everybody in the beginning, and just this show in general. I think maybe I'm wrong, or was wrong.
It's, man, it didn't take long, did it?
No, it didn't. I'm here for it.
Episode 4.
Yeah.
So I knew from jump that John Locke was going to be a character that you liked.
Oh, bless his heart.
So I know you. Man, wait till we get to the Hurley episodes. Like,
Oh, bless him. He's going to hurt my feelings, isn't he?
if you have a heart, yes.
Bless that baby.
But to get back to John Locke, so we're in Walkabout. And I remember talking to you last night, kind of before the episode kicked off, and asking you if you knew what a walkabout was. And a walkabout is a kind of Aboriginal journey in the outback of Australia, which is like a spiritual journey. So similar to, I was trying to think of what it's called. It's depicted in a lot of TV shows where is it a spirit
Pilgrimage?
quest? No, I was thinking of Spirit Quest or something.
I don't know what that word is.
Similar in Native American culture.
Sure. I mean, like I could surmise from context clues what a spirit quest would be about.
We would only be guessing and probably aren't the right people to guess.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, no, definitely not. I don't know. I'm not a Native American, and I don't know shit about their culture.
Yeah,
So.
and that, for all we know, could absolutely have just been a thing made up for TV shows. So
Yeah.
But walkabouts are not a thing that were made up for TV shows.
Is it like a Bear Grylls situation where they just send them out and they're like, you're going to go find yourself in the desert out here
Yes.
fighting kangaroos?
And the
whatever?
outback is, hostile territory.
Sure.
So,
So it literally is like a Bear Grylls situation. Like, we're going to put you out here and you're going to...
Yeah, but you don't have to drink your pee from your shirt or anything. Like, that's not required on a walkabout.
Sure.
Yeah. That's what everybody knows Bear Grylls for. That, and the time that he was stung by bees and then looked exactly like Benedict Cumberbatch.
So funny. That's not what I think about, though. When I think about Bear Grylls, I think about the time that he was in some kind of, like, frozen tundra situation. He caught a fish, picked the fish up, and bit into its spine while it was alive to eat it, and its guts came out of its gills on TV. And I was like, holy shit.
Well, it's hardly a Bear Grylls episode if there's not some kind of crazy stuff going on.
Oh, man, it was vile.
All right. So without further ado, let's get into Morgan's recap of Season 1, Episode 4 of the great TV show Lost, entitled Walkabout.
Man, I took a lot of notes. I
actually thought halfway into it, not even halfway, probably a quarter of the way into it.
I was scrolling?
Well, I was like, man, I really thought she was going to like this episode. Is she bored already?
No, I was taking notes. I mean, it's like, I have to like flick 1, 2 full times to get to the bottom of my notes.
All right, then. Well, get after it.
Okay, so the show opens, the episode opens, we're back to the moment that the plane crashed. We see Shannon in her silk suit or whatever, screaming, chaos, whatever, and then we see John Locke, and he's looking down at his foot and he's like wiggling his toes, and then he slowly like sits up and puts his shoe on, and then he, it was just a weird like. It was like a Quentin Tarantino foot moment. Like, okay, yeah, we see his feet. We got it.
I don't know if Terry O'Quinn, the guy that plays John Locke,
has a foot fetish.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he is aware of any director that has a foot fetish that had him looking at his feet. But go on.
Okay, so then we're back to the present. Vincent, the dog, is absolutely tripping the hell out, barking, freaking out, wakes everybody up. There's a wild boar in the plane. They are eating the bodies in the plane. And when I saw the boar, I was like, oh, finally, an animal that makes sense to be on an island. I've not even seen any birds and shit. Have there been birds?
Yes.
Okay, I've just not been paying attention. That is an animal that makes perfect sense to be on an island. So I was like, cool. Nothing weird about that. So Jack has now completely flipped. We were talking about utilitarianism and
Deontology.
Deontology.
Very good. Yeah.
That was close. Very good. I get a cookie. So now that Jack has had to ostensibly, possibly, allegedly kill the marshal, he's like, fuck it. It's just whatever's good for everybody else. Like, who cares? So he's like, we need to burn the fuselage and all the bodies in it. And Saeed is pissed about that because he's like, what about their religious beliefs? That's not cool. What if they didn't want that? And Jack's like, he says, well, they're gone and we're not. So, like, utilitarianism in a sentence.
Which is funny because, Jack was a representative for deontology in the last episode.
That's what I'm saying. He had to, allegedly kill the dude for the greater good, and now he's just like, fuck it. Like, what I thought, was like my most important thing, like, I've betrayed that, so now nothing matters anymore.
Yeah.
So Saeed is trying to make an antenna to find the power source of the French lady's message. Sawyer gets in a second fight.
Yeah.
And we find out that there's no food. They've eaten all the food. So John has got a knife, and he throws it like a ninja star, and it goes right past Boone's head, and he's like, we should go kill those boar. We should go kill the boar. And I'm like, okay, so John is kind of a badass. And then it flashes to pre-plane crash John.
It's a flashback, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like picking up the phone, and he's saying like Colonel Locke. And they're speaking like military, like, yeah, 800 hours, we're going to, rendezvous at the meeting point or whatever. And I'm like, okay. I said, John Locke has a suitcase full of knives in his checked bag. Collector, ? Undercover officer, ? Like, he's a badass. Claire, as they're cleaning out the fuselage before they burn it, they're going through and finding like personal belongings, IDs, that kind of shit. Claire says, hey Jack, we should do a memorial. And he's like, no. And then he gets asked by, I can't remember who. Anyway, somebody says, hey, the lady that you were sitting beside, she is down at the end of the beach. She's not eaten. She's not gotten up. You should go talk to her. And he's, was it Boone? Okay.
Boone says it to Jack, remember, because Shannon gives Boone a hard time for noticing it. He's
Oh,
like, somebody
yeah.
should talk to her, and she's like, I'll nominate you, Captain America.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And Jack's like, no, I don't really want to do that. Like, and then Boone is like, well, you should be the one to go talk to her because you're the one that saved her life. And so then Jack's like, well, shit. Shannon comes about half a second from busting Charlie doing his heroin. And then he stops. They go out on a walk. Shannon's like, will you teach me how to fish? And really, she just is just straight flat using Charlie to prove to Boone that she can take care of herself. Which, like, yuck. That's not how we do it, ladies. We don't manipulate men. You do it yourself.
So, in fairness, though, did she get a fish?
Yeah, she got a fish.
Did Boone get a fish?
No.
Nope.
Okay, I'll remember that.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that Shannon is using what she's got, basically. Like that is all she's got. Because as far as we know, all she's capable of is translating a tiny bit of French, right, and doing her nails.
Yep.
Those are the main two things that she does on the island so far.
That's
so if she
true.
wants to survive, you know.
Fine. And then there was a fun little super cute bonding moment between Charlie and Hurley trying to catch the fish.
Yeah.
And I bet that when they were filming that they really were having fun out there because they really looked like they were having a good time.
Yeah, so you got to pin it.
Yeah, it looked fun. And then another funny thing I noticed when Charlie and Shannon were walking together, she's like, "Can I ask you a question?" And then he kind of laughs and goes like, "I wondered when this was going to come up. Yes, I am the bassist for..." And then she goes, "Wait, can you catch a fish?" So, like, again, nobody gives a shit about his band.
Well, so Kate at least knew
Kate
the
did.
band.
Kate, yeah. She was like, "My sister's a huge fan." But, like, nobody else gives a damn. And yet again, he's not like, "Yeah, me and my bandmates were all traveling on this plane." It's just him on the plane.
Because the bandmates...
Kicked him out for being a heroin addict, maybe?
Possibly.
Who's to say? But people in bands do drugs. Like, that's the thing. Oh, and then also he changed the words on his fingers from fate to late.
I was going to ask about that. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
Is he tracking somebody's period or something? Like,
No, I don't think so. Because the main girl he's hanging out with is pregnant, so...
yeah, that's true. She's late.
She's very late.
Yeah.
Almost 9 months by the look of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And she's decided that baby's a boy.
Yes.
I thought our baby was a boy. We even bought boy clothes. And then she came out and was not a boy.
Which I'm happy about.
Yeah. Me too. Girls are great. So then we switch over to Michael, Locke, and Kate. And they're out hunting the boar. And then Michael is just not capable of keeping his cool and gets his shit rocked by this boar. Cuts his leg up. So then they have to leave. And then, like, Kate's like, "You can't get that boar by yourself, John. Like, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Don't tell me what I can't do." And then he takes off. And then the monster is, like, right up in his face. And Kate is climbing a tree trying to get the signal. She hears the monster coming. Her dumb ass drops the very fragile, jerry-rigged machine that Saeed has built. Yeah. Throws it out of the tree because she's freaked out. And she saw that the monster was right up in John's face. So she's like, "Oh, R.I.P. Like, he's gone for sure." Then we flash back to the office. John is a colonel in what is essentially a D&D game.
It's Risk. So
okay.
They're playing Risk.
I never played Risk before.
So it's just military D&D.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So he's not a real colonel.
No.
So he's getting shit on by his jerkwad boss, Randy, or whatever, for playing this game.
Do you think when they do scenes like that, they workshop, they're like, "We need the boss to be an absolute douche. What name can we give him?"
Randy.
Let's call him Randy.
Paul.
Because the thing is, we're from the South, so there's a lot of Randys here. I actually think...
But Randys are good old boys around here.
Here. But I actually was thinking about that during the scene. Wherever Locke's at feels like... I think it's California, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But either way, it's not the South. So think of being in, L.A. County or something, and hearing that your boss is a guy with a goatee named Randy. And, he's getting absolutely dunked on by Randy. And
and he's like, "I'm going to go on a walkabout." And Randy's like, "Oh, you are?" And he's like, "Yeah. And a walkabout is a journey about spiritual renewal." And then he's like, "Remember Norman Croucher? He was destined for greatness. He was the guy with no legs that climbed Mount Everest." And Randy's like, "Yeah, okay, you freaking idiot." And then I took a note that says, "John has no idea what he's doing." Very Walter White. He's giving Walter White vibes. Don't tell me what I can't do.
Yeah, I would say a great deal more righteous than...
Oh, yeah, he's not a villain so far.
I was actually just looking up Norman Croucher and when potentially this happened, because I didn't even think about it, but so he was a double amputee and with 2 prosthetic legs below the knee. Mm-hmm. So he did hike. Let's see. Lands End, Croucher climbed the Jungfrau and the Monk Mountains in Switzerland, and in 1972 scaled the treacherous west flank of the Eiger. 2 years later, he also conquered the Matterhorn. He has climbed many other mountains, including peaks in the Himalayas.
Remember that time we tried to hike to Abram Falls and I thought I was going to fucking die?
Yeah. 2.5 miles one way, 2.5 miles back. So.
I thought I was going to actually die.
I will say that we absolutely hoofed it coming back. That was about the fastest I can remember ever moving 2.5 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. We were out.
2.5 miles an hour. I don't know how fast it was. It was very fast. 2.5 miles an hour is not very fast.
If you're walking.
I think you can comfortably walk on a treadmill at 3.
Yeah, well, we were walking down a mountain.
Yeah, down, which, you got gravity helping you out there.
Yeah, but you're also on a slope. There's rocks and things.
Very, very light. I mean, folks, this is all a very light slope. Like, we're talking not even the same angle of a stair on a staircase. Like, very light slope.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So then we are in John's apartment, and I'm just going to read, like, literally what I wrote. John's apartment is gross and sad, mad bachelor vibes, super weird phone. Helen is a paid worker, phone-in girlfriend / phone sex, ? John needs a therapist. It's $89.95 an hour to talk to Helen, who he mentions a couple of times throughout the episode as his, like, girlfriend or whatever. So then you find out, like, he's paying to talk to Helen. And then I said, what a sad, lonely man. Sad, because she's like, I can't talk to you anymore. And then he's like alone for real. Back on the island, Claire found Saeed's shit in the plane. And there was pictures of a lady who I assumed to be his wife and or lover, because he's like caressing her face. He's very happy to have those pictures back. Let's see. Oh, Rose is the lady that's at the end of the beach. She is sure that her husband is not dead, even though he was in the tail of the plane at the bathroom, and the tail was the first thing to go. And she said, I bet they're thinking the same thing about us. And then Jack is seeing some man in a black and white suit, like just on the edges of the island and the trees and shit, like some kind of slender man out there. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just going to read the notes. Kate thinks Locke is dead. Jack chased the suit man into the forest, and then in all caps, Locke got the pig. He's dragging the pig back. He got the pig. Jack sat out of the memorial service. They burned the plane, and Jack was not trying to do that. And then Locke lied about seeing the monster. We flash back to Australia. So Locke has made it to Australia. He's trying to go on the walkabout. The dude is like, mate, you can't go on the walkabout. And John's like,
you can't go on the walkabout.
On the walkabout.
Right.
And John's like, what do you mean? Like, I've waited my whole life for this. This is what I'm meant for. This is my destiny. And the Australian's like, he's like, "Nor." And then
you can't. Yeah.
And Jack's like, Locke's like, don't tell me what I can't do. We find out he's in a damn wheelchair.
Yeah. Yep.
He's in a wheelchair.
Paralyzed from the waist down.
That makes so much sense.
Do you remember how long he said that he has had
4 years.
Yes. So 4.
He was not born that way. He's been paralyzed for 4 years. So I said, he's in a damn wheelchair, ? The bus turned him away because he's paralyzed and now he can fucking walk, ? Magic Island, oh my God, burning the wheelchair, hell yeah. That's my last note.
All right.
Good for you, John.
Yep. Excellent recap.
Yeah, thanks.
So, I mean, I was reading a little bit about this episode and what the creators of the series kind of said about it whenever it was being written. And so they said that if you had to pick an episode inside the first 10 to introduce somebody to Lost, that Walkabout should be it.
It's a great episode.
Yeah, Robert Dougherty writes that the episode possesses similar themes to Tabula Rasa. Walkabout is about being able to overcome the past and start over. Presents the dichotomy seen in much of the series, while Jack is a man of science, Locke is a man of faith. So Lindelof discussed that since Locke's healing was interpreted by the character as a religious experience, this character had been presented as the very sort of mystical figure moving forward.
Oh, and that's he had told Walt a miracle happened to him.
Yeah.
That's a miracle, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, you said the Korean guy was the Christ figure, and he didn't fix his legs.
Yeah, okay. So, just so that we can get this out of the way, just have the full discussion briefly. Huge transgression from the Walkabout episode. Not Jesus, literally, okay? It's a literary trope, okay? In the same way that, like, a red herring is a literary trope.
Sure.
A Christ figure, i.e., somebody that is self-sacrificing, and...
The Korean guy?
You don't know the story yet. Before,
That's
you
true.
didn't know that Locke was paralyzed, and he's just running around on an island.
Well, that's true, but this Korean guy is, like, outwardly mean to that lady. The Korean lady.
Yeah.
Maybe she deserves it. I don't know.
I will say that there's pretty much not a character whose backstory you see, maybe with one or two exceptions, where it's not going to be some kind of surprise. Like, you're gonna feel like you probably misjudged people an awful lot. I think that's intentional. Obviously, they're in a situation where they're making prejudgments. I mean, they go from making really outward prejudgments, like Sawyer calling Saeed a terrorist, and Saeed and talking about Sawyer being the criminal whenever they find the handcuffs, and based on Sawyer's behavior, I mean, Sawyer's just being a racist, right? But based on Sawyer's behavior on the island, I think Saeed's assertion is a little more understandable.
Yes.
But it's still wrong because it was Kate who they were giving the gun to, who was the criminal, right? So they didn't know, but they're giving her the gun. So that's kind of the whole thing with Lost is you think you know, but you don't. No matter how clear it seems to you that you know what's going on, you don't know what's going on.
Well, like, obviously this island is jacked up. Like, there's a turbine monster out there. There's a man in a suit that nobody knows. The French lady. Is it possible that maybe in the wreck, whatever was jacked up in his spine got fixed, and it's not the island that's magic?
So I think there is a character on the island who would agree with that.
Jack?
Yeah. So because
Well, yeah, rather than go like, oh yeah, it's the magic sand or whatever.
Well, yeah, and let's just to make it more personal. That's a really good example of a thing that happens in our house all the time. So
You already said the ghost thing.
I know, but listen, that is a great way to look at the dichotomy between Jack and Locke, which is like Locke sees a thing and immediately, I mean, he doesn't consider a rational explanation. Just immediately, it's a miracle. He didn't...
I mean, that is pretty miraculous. It is.
Yeah, but if you fell from the sky, depending on how you got paralyzed in the first place, which you don't know yet, but will eventually know, you may reasonably conclude that you unparalyzed yourself. Like, it's not completely unreasonable, especially if you don't know about medicine. So if you don't know exactly how the human body works, but you know that you used to walk and now you don't, and then you fell from the sky and you wake up on a beach and you can move your feet again, it's possible something medical happened here.
Yeah, and it makes so much more sense because I remember shitting all over Locke for like sitting out in the rain and smiling, you weirdo, and running on the island, like gleefully running. It all makes sense now, and I feel like a dick.
Because he couldn't walk.
He couldn't do it before. And what a jerk I am for being so hasty.
And I caught it on recording, and it's going to go on lots of different media sites for you.
Listen, I stand corrected. I was wrong. Big wrong.
But I think that's what's so good about that is that's another part of the show is that people make their prejudgments. They're wrong. Some people overcome those prejudgments. Some people don't. So,
Yeah.
you know, people are not perfect. So I wanted to let's look back on a couple of things that happened inside Walkabout. So there's a brief discussion in the beginning where there are a bunch of bodies in the fuselage. They've been sitting in the sun, and they're talking essentially about cremating them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of concern on Saeed's part.
Yeah, I said that.
Right. But now that we've recapped it, what are your thoughts on that situation?
I think that I'm with Jack on that one.
Okay, why?
Because it's a matter of like they're rotting bodies first and foremost. You know that shit stinks. They're walking around on that beach like right there with that plane. Stinky, bad for morale. You don't want that. But then also it really is, would draw predators and animals and shit out there that maybe they don't want. There's a turbine monster out there. What if it likes to eat meat? It's going to come find them. At that point, dead people's religious beliefs, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, but hopefully this is okay. I think candidly, you say that because it has always been your chosen method for disposal for you to be cremated.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's not the case for everybody.
No, I know.
There
are some people that think that if you get cremated, like, you won't ever go to heaven or whatever.
Yeah.
Because your body has to be whole.
Yeah. And so Saeed is concerned about that.
Sure.
And Jack is not. Mm-hmm. Because Jack has gone full utilitarian after...
It took one thing for him to be like,
well, in fairness, that one thing was murder. So he did kill somebody.
Murder's a harsh word for what he did.
I think it's a clinically accurate word for what he did.
I disagree. I would not call that murder.
He didn't have to do it. He didn't have to.
No.
He could have chosen not to do it. He chose to do it.
Would somebody go to prison for that?
Yes, I believe so. Because
in that situation,
because people can go to prison right now for assisted suicide. Doctors.
That's true. That's true.
So, yeah,
which is BS.
Which is actually a step, more humane than just a doctor walking into a room and murdering you, right? So, because at least you're doing it if it's assisted suicide.
Yeah.
Because then it's clearly your choice to do it. Like, you did it. It's your choice to do it. But if a doctor does it, it's not clear to anybody else that
I thought it was wild that Marshall was not begging to be killed before. Like, why did he wait until he was shot in the actual chest?
I think that's a human survival instinct. I think, especially because he was being treated by a doctor. He's on an airplane.
Oh, that's true.
And so he probably was holding out hope for staying alive.
Sure. Okay.
So that's what I would think.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a brief moment. They don't dwell too long on it, and then they move on to trying to get rid of the bodies and burn the bodies in the fuselage. So once they decide to burn the bodies in the fuselage, people are immediately turning to Jack to get him to do a ceremony.
Mm-hmm. And he's
to get him to talk to Rose.
Nope.
Okay. So why?
Well, because he is a doctor. He stepped up in the beginning and started taking control of shit, telling people, you go do this, go get the medicine, whatever. But Saeed is kind of taking the lead, I feel like. And Jack is having a meltdown.
Yeah, because the things that Jack took the lead on were all practical. So we're not doing anything philosophical.
That's true.
He's not a spiritual leader.
No.
No. So
he's
Jack,
a crisis dude. He's the dude you want.
Jack is being asked to lead a ceremony, and he is clearly an atheist. So he is, or at least the whole time that I watched the show, that's what I took away from Jack. It's ambiguous, but
Well, or just, sometimes people that are in the sciences are just they have complete lack of faith in anything but science and math and concrete. Just not highly emotional people.
and that is certainly the case for Jack.
Sure.
Certainly not the case for Locke, who this episode is about.
Yeah.
So to circle back to Locke, so we got him in his life at home. He is playing Risk on his lunch break. He works in a little corporate type office.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, he did say that he had studied and trained for the Walkabout, but
well, he threw the knife pretty well.
He did. He threw the shit out of that knife, and he did go kill that boar.
He knew how to hunt the boar.
Yep. He knew how to track it, how its little marks on the tree, what that meant, and he knew that they rooted in the ground for their food and stuff, or whatever it was.
Do you think that Locke did all that before he was paralyzed or after?
He obviously has got some sort of skill set. I don't think that he's an expert outdoorsman, but serviceable.
Do you think Locke is lacking in social skills at all?
He's odd, yeah. He's an odd dude.
I think he's sweet. He's not entirely lacking in social skills because he knew that.
Oh, he's very kind.
He wanted, Michael to get credit for.
Mm-hmm. And he made the dog whistle without being asked, and
So he did all that.
Yeah, he's kind. He's a kind man.
But he also doesn't quite understand that it's kind of inherently creepy to have a one-on-one conversation with a child, especially in the situation that they're in.
Yeah.
Probably would be good to seek out the dad to have a chat.
Yeah, he's an odd man. He is. And then he's paying for the phone. I hesitate to call her a sex worker, but I'm pretty sure it's a phone sex line.
Yeah, she's a sex worker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there's nothing wrong with that.
Phone in girlfriend or whatever her, because she was saying I don't typically do this, so that makes me think it's a phone sex line, and $90 an hour, yeah. So he obviously.
What makes you think she's not a therapist?
Because she tells him you need a therapist.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he tells her I got 2 tickets to Australia if you want to go, and that's when she flips out and is like, I can't talk to you anymore. You need a therapist. This is not what I do. If we talk anymore, I'm gonna have to charge you for another hour. Blah blah blah. So, obviously he does not have any friends. He doesn't have any love interests. He's very lonely.
Yeah, and something that I noticed that I didn't think about the first time was that when Randy's picking on him at lunch, Randy's pretty relentlessly picking on him, and then he just gets up and walks out kind of at the end, and Locke says something to him on the way out. But how Locke recounts it to Helen is that he told Randy off.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the vibe.
Felt so good.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not really the vibe I got from that situation.
No.
So, Locke is certainly a man of faith, possibly a man of fantasy. He is playing a war game on his break, and
sure,
and super into it. They're called by rank. Mm-hmm. He's the leader, so he says, you don't have patience. That's a leadership skill or whatever, and that's when Randy decides to butt in. Their manager, who is certainly not a leader.
No.
Randy sucks. He's one of
Randy
them.
does suck. What a butthole.
Ooh, and think about how much more he sucks when you realize that Locke is in a wheelchair.
He's freaking paralyzed. Yeah, he's picking on a person with a disability.
Yeah, so he's picking on somebody ostensibly and he's his boss.
Yeah.
So he's his boss.
What a douche. You want to talk about a freaking power trip. What a total douchebag. Randy looks like a human rat. Maybe that's why he's being mean.
He does have a radish face, kind of. I was thinking in that, the Randy scene really got to me the first time I watched it, and it's kind of it stuck with me. And I think that's just because we both came from retail. So we have certainly had our share of bad bosses in retail, bad managers. And heck, I've had them in the corporate world too. I mean, just bad bosses. And it's interesting to think about it, watching this on a TV show where Locke is literally paralyzed and he's being picked on by this douche with a soul patch.
Yeah, like the world's worst facial hair. I bet he smells like the inside of a rind of Parmesan cheese. Like, just what a total loser.
Yeah, I mean, it's tragic to me that Locke can't come up with like, yeah, this may look really pathetic to you, but if you want to see something really pathetic, go check out the mirror in the bathroom and that horrible soul patch.
Yeah.
Like, are you Earth, Wind, and Fire or something? Like, what is going on? He is
freaking stinky turd of a person.
Terrible. And wearing, I mean,
his clothes were shitty.
They did a great job with Randy.
Yeah.
Watch, like, this is going to get out. People are going to listen to it. Because the guy who played Randy looked like he was probably, 30, 35, whenever this show. So he's, kicking probably. Just imagine the guy that played Randy hearing this, and we're just shitting on him for having a rat face and a goatee.
Well, if the shoe fits.
Well, excellent acting then, guy who played Randy.
Yeah.
Get in touch, and we'll criticize your soul
I'll
patch.
apologize for telling you that you look like a rat, but I won't apologize for how much I hate Randy.
Oh, yeah. So, excellent episode.
Yeah.
Really,
it was great.
Really a highlight of the early part of Lost. And why do you think Locke lied about seeing the monster? Last question.
I think that probably he either was completely terrified, but what I gathered is that he probably thinks like this monster is like a god figure on the island, and so he's not trying to piss off God because he got his legs back.
That's fair.
So he's like keeping that for himself.
Why do you think the monster spared him and not the pilot?
Great question. Don't know. So he can go witness to everybody else on the island?
Make of them disciples, eh?
Indeed. What's that one about the fishers of men?
I'll make you fishers of men and to fishermen. Like, I think that's, you pretty much did it. So, yeah, possibly. Any other theories about why the monster would walk right up to Locke, and not only would Locke not say something about it, because Kate said that she didn't see it. Jack said that he didn't see it. They just kind of saw the effects of it.
Yeah, right. Movement.
So now Locke is the only person to see this monster and survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's what I said. It's some kind of god figure to him. Yeah. And he's not trying to lose his legs again.
Of the weird stuff that's happening on the island, do you think it's 100% mystical, or do you think it's partially scientific, partially mystical? Or 100% scientific?
No. I think that obviously there is some science happening. There's shit on this island. It's not just like a straight up uninhabited magic land. Like, stuff is going on out there. People are out there on the island.
Right.
The Slender Man dude on the beach. Like, there are people.
I love that you're coming up with names for stuff before you know the actual names. And I just want to make a dictionary of these names. Like, you've Creed, Slender Man.
Yeah.
The turbine
The
dinosaur
turbine monster. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we come to the part of the show where we do some predictions, and I rate them 1 through 50. So, let's just do predictions for the next episode. So the next episode is called White Rabbit.
Yeah, when I saw this yesterday, when we finished Walkabout, and I saw that the next episode was called White Rabbit, we were walking upstairs to bed, and I said, it's going to be some Alice in Wonderland shit, isn't it? And you went, yup. So, we're going to be either going to a land of complete fantasy, or it's going to be about drug use,
So you think this is a Charlie episode?
Yeah, possibly.
And then, so what is just quickly, because I'm having to look it up as we speak, because I don't fully remember Alice in Wonderland. Mm-hmm. What's the significance of the White Rabbit? What role does the White Rabbit play?
She just is chasing him the whole entire time. That's how she gets into Wonderland, I think, he runs in and she chases him, and then she chases him throughout the whole story, and he's just frantic. I'm late for a very important date. Frantic as hell. He does not stop to talk to her at all. He's just jetting it the whole time, and she's just chasing him. So he's like, I guess he's supposed to represent the passage of time.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know.
So, knowing that So, White Rabbit, who was chasing something in the last episode? Toward the end of the last episode.
I don't remember.
Somebody chased something into...
Oh, Michael. No. I don't remember.
Okay. So then I'm not going to...
Hold on. Let me refer back to my notes.
I'll give you a hint. It's toward the end of the episode.
Yeah, let's see.
So you don't have to look back through the whole episode, just toward
the end. Jack chased the Slender Man into the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's a Jack episode.
Very good. So then now knowing that it's a Jack episode and not a drug use episode.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be about time. It's going to be about, or he, I don't know. I think it's going to be about time. He's a doctor. He's a surgeon. He's up against the clock all the time.
Okay. I will give you a 4.
Damn. Okay, is it going to be like a conspiracy thing? Like, is down the rabbit hole? Is that what we're talking about?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can only give you an 8 for that.
Damn. Out of 50?
Yeah.
God.
So it's a Jack episode. Obviously, as you can kind of start to tell, like what you're getting with Kate, you get the flashback essentially to how she got to the plane.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, same thing with Locke. He's been to Australia. He's been turned down.
Mm-hmm. And he was coming back home.
All right. So, then logically, Jack's episode is going to be how he got on the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing here is character development, placing them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say part of what you said was accurate. So,
but I got an 8.
Yeah. All right. And my favorite segment, what the fuck is going on? So, what is going on with this island?
I don't know. I truly, again, I'll say this every time. I have no fucking idea what's going on with this island. I'm just getting bits and pieces because we're doing all this damn character development right now. So, I don't know what's happening on this island.
It's great, and it really is just because your face is too close to it, and it's hard to back up because so much is happening. So it's like...
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm frantically writing notes
the great
every time
thing
we
is
watch
that
the show.
There is not enough clues yet to know what's going on.
Yeah.
There's literally... I could bet anything that you wouldn't get it right. What the fuck is going on?
Oh, I guarantee it. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It could be literally anything.
I could comfortably bet my own life on it. That's how little breadcrumbs they've given you so far.
Yeah.
But that's not true for the rest of the series. They drop pretty significant breadcrumbs. I'd say inside the first 2 seasons, you get pretty good breadcrumbs. Right now, you're hosed. You're not getting...
Yeah,
you're not
I have no idea. No idea.
All right. So... that was Walkabout. Our next episode will be a review of Season 1, Episode 5, White Rabbit. And I think I have already begun to convince Morgan that this is... But right now, it's just a good show. It's a good show.
I'm enjoying it. I don't think it's some, super deep, incredible, amazing show like you think it is. But, I'm invested in the story.
Just imagine the feeling that you got when you realized that Locke was in a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah. I thought that my jaw was going to fall off my face. Yeah. It was so far on the open, like,
that revelation doesn't touch the stuff going on in the later season. It doesn't even sniff it. Like, this is like you sitting in a Mexican restaurant and you've ordered fajitas and you hear, like, off in the distance, you hear like a kind of, right?
Oh, you can hear it coming.
Because they're plating it, but it's not out yet, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not sitting in front of you, spitting up at you yet. Mm-hmm. And you smell that overwhelming fajita smell or whatever, and it's time to eat. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, you'll get there. Okay. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Another excellent food-based analogy. So, thank you for listening. And now we're going to get to our favorite segment to end the episode, Messages from You, Messages in a Bottle. All right, so for Messages in a Bottle, just as a reminder, if you want to reach out to us, you want us to answer any questions that you've got, or you want to comment on the episode, just want to hear your email read out. For now, it's just an email, or you can reach out to us on our Facebook page, but the email is losttogetherpodcast@gmail.com. We've also got a page on Facebook for Lost Together Podcast. Reach out to us any way you want, and we will answer your questions. So we do have one email this week. I just want to give a little backstory before I read the email. So I am super into another podcast, which I'll plug, and it is called...
Yeah, I plugged my D&D podcast, so you can plug your XFM show.
Yeah, I actually, it's the D Trout Spinners podcast. So that's D-E and then Trout, T-R-O-U-T, and then Spinners, D Trout Spinners, which is a really, really, really inside joke from a 20-year-old radio show hosted by Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant of The Office fame, and Carl Pilkington, the real star of the show. But there are there's kind of a big online community of listeners. One of them reached out because he heard that I had a podcast, and he wrote, "Hey Joe, thanks for sharing the link to your podcast in the XFM community chat on Twitter. I was a big fan of Lost, really enjoyed the story arcs and the internal history background to it all. Laughed out loud at Morgan's 'Are they in Hawaii?' guess in the second episode. Often used to wonder when I watched it if there'd be an episode of the survivors walking through the undergrowth and then just randomly coming across a massive beach resort. Although I'm a fan, I generally missed out on the non-series content, the mini episodes, the websites, so it would be great if you could cover that. I'm loving the format. I hope you guys make it all the way to the end. Good luck, brother. Selvi."
Thank you so much, Selvi. We're so glad to hear from you.
Yeah, I wondered that myself once or twice when I was watching it. Would it be so funny if there was just a massive resort on the other side of the island and they
walk
just
up on a pig roast and some hula dancers or whatever, and they're like, whoa.
Especially if they'd been starving for all that time and then doing torture, and then they just kind of round the corner and they're like, "Hey, welcome to the, Homie Luau Beach Resort," or whatever.
The real twister would be if it was a French resort and everybody there spoke French.
Yeah.
Oh.
Could be like I think there's an island in the Caribbean somewhere. It's St. Martin. That's half French and half Dutch. And
is it 16 years old?
That's much older than 16 years old. It was colonized by the French.
Well.
Before they gave up on it. But at least on half of it, the Dutch have the other side of the island. I think I was on the French half of the island. I can't remember. But anyway, thank you for writing in, Sylvie. That's a good point about there are some mini episodes. There's an epilogue. There's all kinds of Lost content out there. So I think by the time we get to the end, my original intent was for Morgan to watch the last episode and the epilogue, which you can famously find just on YouTube. So don't look for it if you're trying to spoil it for yourself. But maybe do that in a single reaction, because I think it goes really well together.
Cool.
All right. That's it. Thanks for writing in. Again, if you have any comments or questions, write into losttogetherpodcast@gmail.com.